Being memorable requires that you connect with your audience first. As someone who sucks at multitasking, it's a lot to manage. What's the goal of the booth? What do you want people walking away feeling and thinking? If you don't make the time for it, then ask yourself, what was it all for? Hi Digital Chiefs, welcome back. Attending an event can be a lot of fun, and there's a chance you might meet someone who can help you fast track your business. But given the costs involved to attend in person, the travel, the accommodation, taxis, meals, as well as the actual ticket price and time off work, it can all really start to add up. If you are speaking, exhibiting, or sponsoring, then it's even more work to make it worthwhile. For a time-strapped and funding-strapped startup, you must consider the real cost. Here are my tips on how to make the most of your time at an event, particularly if you are sponsoring or speaking. Don't just leave it to fate and serendipity that you happen to meet the right person there. This video is part of my Scaleup series, and as the name implies, it's focused on helping founders at the next growth stage. So first of all, speaking spot. One of the things that has become mandatory for me, given I do get invited to quite a few events, is that I ensure I have some time to speak. This included when I was a startup founder in a brand new city. This is the bare minimum to justify putting on my face, my makeup to attend. When I was a startup founder, I wouldn't stop there and would only elect to be a panelist. Failing that, keynotes were okay too, but I would always stay away from anything that was over 20 minutes. Studies have shown that it's frankly just hard for anyone to concentrate for longer than that, and it's also a lot of prep work for you. Of course, this is a little different now when I'm asked to do a lot more keynotes, as I'm more focused on teaching something as opposed to promoting something. I say that as someone who's spent years building their profile online, speaking, traveling to events, and also doing interviews and podcasts. I found that being a panelist, both online and in person, far outweighs in effectiveness in generating customer and investor leads. This is because a panelist is perceived to be an expert, i.e. they're being interviewed for their knowledge, whereas the moderator's job is to ensure the panelists share mic time. It's a subtle but significant difference. Moderators also have the hardest job. They have more prep work. They have to learn everyone's profile. They need to come up with questions. And then there's the pressure being on stage and making sure everybody is talking, the conversation is flowing. As someone who sucks at multitasking, it's a lot to manage. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about how to speak and stand out on a panel in this video, but make sure you give this one a like so that I can cover it in the next one. But the key thing I aim for is to be memorable on a panel. This is very different to promoting on a panel, or what other people do is educate on a panel. Educating is what most speakers do as their primary outcome on a panel. Being memorable requires that you connect with your audience first before they're actually able to take in your information. Another thing I always do is have one key action item for the audience. Now, I don't meet every single member of the audience. I hone in on speaking to my target customers who are sitting in the audience. Hopefully you've already done this part and qualified the event, i.e. worked out that your target person will in fact be in the audience. More on that a little later. I try to relate to this target individual directly and give them an action or task, whether that be a potential customer, partner, or an investor. For example, when I was running a fund, I would say the kind of startups we were looking for and invite them to come say hello after the event. I would also normally wear a color that makes me easy to find in a crowd, given I'm bite-sized at only 5 feet. When I was running my media company, I would be looking for stories on real estate projects to profile, so I would do a call out for these. If I had a booth, I would direct them to the booth for a live demo or to pick up something. Keep it to one single simple action so that, again, it's easily remembered. Hopefully you've picked up a pro tip here, i.e. the time cost of your booth is greatly enhanced if you have a way of directing people to it. They become an inbound lead as they're coming to you for help, which is by far easier to convert when compared to a cold lead. Bonus pro tip, there are often VIP invite-only get-togethers, typically dinners just for the speakers the night before. Naturally, being a speaker, you'll usually get included, but if you don't hear of one, ask the event team. If you paid for a booth or sponsorship, your package should include it. These dinners and invite-only events are obviously rarely advertised or even on the agenda. There could also be closed roundtables, welcome drinks, special workshops, so make sure you ask about these. Number 2, email lists. Those offered by the event as part of your sponsorship are normally not that valuable. Everyone has inbox overwhelm these days. No one wants to be spammed, so it's always best to get the permission of the person to contact them. That means either them physically handing you a business card or you asking them and them seeing you write down their information. This makes it more likely the person will in fact respond when you get in touch with them. Unless you are going to provide the email list an offer of some sort that would be relevant to most of the attendees, one example being super early bird prices for next year's event. Otherwise, I would simply stay away from the email list. It would do more harm than good to your brand. Where I found the email list or invite list worthwhile was to have a look at who was attending. It gives me a sense of the profile. So the titles, the companies, and whether there'll be decision makers there. Number 3, speaker list. Similar to the attendee list, what I tend to do is pay more attention to the invited speakers and get a feel for the networking that is possible. About 1 or 2 weeks before the event, I would systematically go through and add each speaker to my LinkedIn and say hello. Sometimes I would just leave it at that or say something in particular about their talk or their profile, or that I'm genuinely looking forward to hearing their session. I'm a curious person by nature, so this comes naturally to me. If they are someone I'm very keen to have a proper conversation with, then I would suggest a meet and greet session either before or after their speaking spot. I prefer, say, 1 hour before they're scheduled to go on. I only meet with them for 30 minutes, and this leaves 30 minutes for them to leave for their own panel. Failing that, an hour after their panel is okay too, but it can be hard to catch them after, as they might be swamped with people wanting to talk to them coming off the stage. In fact, this is one of the ways I've built my network very quickly. I'm proactive about researching exactly who the speakers are, their expertise, setting appointments to have a quick touch base with them while they're in person. I'm meeting with them with the sole purpose of getting a better understanding of how I can be valuable to them. I don't use first meetings as a pitch exercise. I focus on being memorable, forming a connection, and understanding them first. Doing anything besides the above on the first meeting almost always comes across as desperate, and I've certainly made this mistake myself as a founder in the past. The 4th thing you should look at is the marketing pre-event and post-event. Will they be doing any marketing of you or your company prior? Via what channels? Social media? What is their following and engagement if it's through social media? What about other media, such as podcasts and interviews? Again, this is why having a speaking opportunity is crucial. In some ways, the pre-event marketing is sometimes more important, effective, and powerful than attending the event itself, assuming your company website, your own socials are built to capture these and to convert them. What will the event organizers be doing at the event? Is there live tweeting? Are there any particular hashtags you should be using? What about after the event? Will there be any follow-up marketing, updates, news? Another thing to consider is your marketing materials. If you are sponsoring an event and negotiated a good price for your booth, then what will you have at your booth? What will people collect? And what will people actually be able to see? What's the goal of the booth? What do you want people walking away feeling and thinking? Lots of people give away freebie swag, which I would highly encourage you to reconsider, given that we should all be a bit more waste conscious these days. A lot of that swag is tossed away and tends to give a bit of a negative impression of your brand. Instead, try to think of how you can inspire them, leave them intrigued, and leave them wanting more. Marketing materials are often a missed opportunity. Again, here you want to keep your communication and materials really digestible. Show clear evidence of how you've helped your customers and the kind of customers you've helped. Live demos that put the prospect in the driver's seat or something to interact with is always preferred, as it's a little bit easier to recall something you've interacted with. Lastly, follow up. What will the customer see when they go back home and start doing research on you? The first thing that most people do is check the website and social media, particularly LinkedIn these days. So as a bare minimum, you should make sure that they are well presented. For B2B businesses, industry case studies that are relevant to them can help them better visualize how your tech can solve their problems. The last part of following up is often neglected, and I know it's something I've always seemed to forget to allocate time to do. You need to follow up with prospects and connections, ideally within 48 hours. If you don't make the time for it, then ask yourself, what was it all for? Wasn't the whole goal to get leads? Not following up and booking times to catch up means they fall through the gaps. I've let this happen way too often. So that's it, my tips on how to get the most out of an event as a sponsor, exhibitor, or speaker. I'd love to hear from those of you who frequently sponsor events. What was the most effective thing for you when it came to generating leads and connections? Is there anything that is on your do not do list? Don't forget to like, subscribe, share if this was helpful to you so that other founders can spend their time more wisely at events. If you're pitching investors at your next event and want to make sure it's investor proof, then you can submit it to me for a 5-point review at digitalchief.co. Next up, I have a great example of a winning pitch that you can learn from.